Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Intan Azati binti Muhammad Tamizi and I will be the first presenter to briefly explain about the palm oil plantation in Malaysia. The history is the palm oil plantation was introduced to Malaya as ornamental plant in early 1870 by British and the cultivation of oil palm increased in early 1960 under the government agricultural diversification program. This program is introduced to reduce the country economic dependent on rubber and tin. The second point is the Malaysian oil palm industry is highly regulated since it's a popular and widely used in food ingredient. And if I'm not mistaken, over 85% of the total production of crude palm oil worldwide come from Malaysia and Indonesia. And the next point is Malaysia Palm Oil Board or MPOB imposes a licensing requirement to produce and trade the palm product throughout the supply chain. It's to maintain the quality of palm oil. In this slide, I will explain what we use for our plantation. We only use the hybrid tenera type for our palm oil plantation because this hybrid tenera, each fruit of it, produce a large quantity of oil. As for today palm oil plantation, about 4.4 million hectare of land in Malaysia is under the oil palm cultivation that produce 17.73 million ton of palm oil. And I can quote from MPOC, Malaysian Palm Oil Council. Malaysia is one of the largest producer and exporter of palm oil in the world, accounting for 11% of the world's oil and fat production and 37% of export trade of oil and fat. And the fun fact for today is it only requiring 0.26 hectare of land to produce 1 ton of oil. Thank you.
Next, we move to occupational health hazard exists in the palm oil plantation in Malaysia. First, biological hazard. The biological hazard that can exist is leptospirosis. The reason for the high positivity in zero prevalence of leptospirosis among the workers is probably related to rats, which are known to be carriers of leptospirosis. The rats can be found anywhere in oil palm plantation because they are attracted to fresh oil palm fruit. In addition, due to the favorable tropical climate and surface environment condition in the plantation, the pathogenic leptospirosis are able to survive for long periods of time, thereby increasing the risk of disease transmission. Oil palm plantation workers mainly use their hands in carrying out their manual work. For instance, the fruit collector who pick up the loose fruit from the ground have direct contact with a possibly contaminated environment, and transmission of leptospira are made easier without the protection of rubber glove. Next is chemical hazard. Palm oil workers are exposed to toxic chemical use in weed killer, pesticide, and fertilizer. Workers carry a backpack with a spraying tank holding the chemicals such as paraquat and glyphosate, which is a highly toxic chemical. They often have inadequate safety equipment or faulty tools that cause the chemical to spill on their back and hands. Because of that, they will tend to get nausea, vomiting, and dizziness. After that is psychosocial hazards such as stress and mental health. Poor mental health was a concern for palm oil workers and employers because of the long-term burden of illness and resulting loss of productivity. High demand of manual labor, the risk of MSDs, infections, and poor living conditions coupled with low wage, long working hours, and precarious work can be major stresses for oil plantation workers. Furthermore, the majority of workers on oil palm plantation are migrant workers who may not have a supportive social network.
For this slide, I will explain the rest of the potential hazard that can occur. As we know, all the hazard that occurred is related to the musculoskeletal disorder. MSD is represent problem where there is high repetition, high forces, and awkward posture. For the ergonomic part, there are few job or tasks that contribute to the MSD. First is harvesting. Harvester need to be in awkward position to handle the sickle. The problem is when the harvester need to cut the fresh fruit bunch from the taller palm oil tree. They use a sickle that attached with long pole to cut the fresh fruit bunch with cutting pulley motion. They also have high level exposure at the shoulder and the neck. Next task is collecting the fresh fruit bunch. This task is using mini tractor. The worker need to look at back frequently while the machine lifting the fresh fruit bunch from ground into a cart. Extreme neck rotation was found to be the highest ergonomic race to perform this task. Besides that, manage the loose fruit also is one of the risks of ergonomic. It is because the worker need to bend their body and sweeping the fruits. For the physical part, our worker is exposed to the heat stress during working at peak hour on 11 a.m. until 3 p.m. Next, worker also tend to slip and fall due to condition of the track. We also need consider after raining, after lorry, using the track with full load.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Hafiza and I'll be presenting two parts of description of investigation process using risk analysis. So this is the hierarchy table, and as you can see, the hazard identification is from number until effects, while the risk analysis is from existing control until risk, and while the risk control is the recommended control measure. Activity is decanted insecticide where it caused by chemical spill on skin or eyes that cause the workers to get irritation on skin and blurred vision. Involving the same chemical activity is caused by chemical inhalation made the workers ill with headache and nausea. Lastly, involving the same activity is caused the workers to vomit and got stomachache due to poor hygiene practice. That is filling the drill with fuel. Chemical spill on skin or eyes cause irritation on skin and blurred vision. Same work activity is caused by chemical inhalation leads the worker with headache and nausea as the effects. Involving the same work activities caused by hazard of poor hygiene practice, the effects are stomach ache and vomiting. Okay, for these two work activities, the risk analysis and risk control are almost the same except for inhalation chemical for the PPE part.
The next activity is injecting insecticides. The hazard would be inhalation of this chemical substance. The effect would be nausea, vomiting and dizziness. The risk for this hazard is 9, which is a medium. The next hazard is chemical spillage onto the skin and eyes. The effects would be blurred vision or eye and skin irritation. The risk for this hazard is 9, which is a medium. The next hazard is poor hygiene practice. The effects is stomach ache, vomiting and could even lead to fatal. Number 4, sealing trunk hole. The first hazard is inhalation of chemical substance. The effect would be nausea, vomiting and dizziness. The risk for this hazard is 9, which is a medium. So for the next hazard is chemical spillage onto skin or into eyes. The effects is blurred vision, eye and skin irritation. The risk for this hazard is 6, which is a medium. Poor hygiene practice. The effects is stomach ache and vomiting. The risk for this hazard is 9, which is a medium. Last activities is cleaning trunk injector gun. The hazard is chemical spillage onto skin or into eyes. The effect is blurred vision and eye and skin irritation. Poor hygiene practice. The effects are stomach ache and vomiting. Contributing factors for this incident is first, lack of chemical safety training. Second, unclear and unavailable chemical safety data sheets for the workers. Number 3, no provision of appropriate personal protective equipment. Number 4, poor personal hygiene practices by the workers. And lastly, unclear safe operating procedures, SOP.